Welcome to the Thrive College podcast. I am Dina Davidson, and I am the host of the podcast and discipleship director of Thrive College. And we have the pastor whoa, you looked so surprised when I did that. The pastor Wes Davis with us. Da-da-da!
Ta-da! Anytime you get introduced with the word the in front,
yeah.
it's either really, really good or maybe like bad.
We'll let the listeners weigh in at the end of this whether it was really good or really bad.
Okay.
I want to say that I think it's really good though. Pastor Wes, you are the pastor of New Life Church in the greater Seattle area.
Yep.
Your church has gone from 14 people in a living room to over 4,000, but it's not just butts in a seat. You guys have baptized as a congregation over 2,000 people. That is incredible.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. If you're just listening, he's just doing this little like happy dance. He's so excited. Woohoo. Do you have a favorite baptism story?
Okay. So I'm sure I do. I mean, there was one. I have two that come to mind. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So one is I was the church that launched us. Like they gave us an assignment. They're like, start a church for people who don't go to church, and
That's
we're
good.
like, that's perfect. So we started a service.
Yeah.
We're like, this is probably what people were waiting for, is for a church to say, hey, we're open.
Right.
And so we learned that's not true. But
Oh,
along,
there's a church. Never seen one of those
yeah,
before.
I've just been waiting for a new one to open up.
Yeah.
And so we were like, but we got A boards. And so,
A boards. What's an A board?
oh, so we rented everywhere. So you just
Yeah.
have these boards that like sandwich boards
Oh,
that sit out there.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, uh-huh.
We're a church.
Trailers, Conex boxes.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, floor
Yeah.
mats. I mean, trust me, I knew the whole thing. And so, but what's interesting is there was a woman at the church that was the church that launched us, and I never saw her husband, like never. And I was like there 7 years. I didn't even know she was married.
Okay.
And she would talk about her husband. I just
Yeah.
never saw him. And he was just like the guy that was just like, I don't do church. I don't
Yeah.
do church. I don't do church people. Fast forward, when we launched the church, it was we along the way said, hey, we want to be a church in more than one location. And we ended up launching a church close to where he lived.
Yeah.
And because all of his kids were going,
Right.
and his grandkids, he's like, all right, I'll go. And he's just this rough dude.
Yeah.
He looks rough.
Yeah.
And so he came for a while, and along the way, he ends up like, you don't know, like, are you like, what's going on here? He volunteered for kids camp,
Oh my gosh.
and he would make the coolest props, right?
Yeah.
And so like, he made like a physical, like he made like space rides, like he's a builder. So like 20, 30, 40 foot type of props for kids to get into and have like rides and experiences.
Yeah.
And so there was a moment where he was like, okay, I am ready to say yes. And so I have the picture of his baptism
Wow.
where his son got to baptize his
What?
dad.
What?
Right. And then it was not too long later that he passed away from cancer.
Oh my goodness.
And his whole family, like through the process, saw the life change in him.
Yeah.
And so there's just like this whole wave of like 40 people who all became Christians because that
Oh my
one man,
goodness.
the people like that, like never, like he's Simon Peter, right?
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was just really cool. And, I thought this was really, and then, like there's just stories that just keep happening.
Yeah.
So there was I've been at the church long enough to watch like kids be born and grow up.
Wow.
So there's
That's
a kid
faithfulness.
that, right? Yeah. 22 years. So there's this girl, and I remember her family coming to me and they're like, we don't know what to do with her. Like she just screams and she's up, she's just upset all the time. She's like that 9-year-old, 8-year-old that's just screaming and upset and we
Yeah.
don't know what to do and how to parent her. And, I've watched her, she's quite an athlete and she's really starting to come to who she is. And you can see the smile and the confidence. But what was really cool is we were baptizing people on the first day of the year. And a guy named Wally, he's 82 years old, had become a Christian, which I love right?
Yeah.
And he decides to get baptized. So he's 82, which he's wearing like short shorts, right? Like 82, he's got these short shorts on, right? And business socks.
Oh, wow. What a choice.
Because like if you're getting baptized, we gotta have some business socks on, right? I mean business. So he gets baptized, he comes out of the water, and it's just like the whole church is excited, right? And I don't know, for whatever reason, the person leading the baptism says, is there anybody else that wants to be baptized? Well, I had taken off to go, I can't remember, I thought it was over, and I had to run to something, and so I was kind of heading out, and a bunch of people come running out into lobby, they grabbed me and pulled me in because they're like, hey, Anna's getting baptized.
Wow.
And I didn't say this, is the way I connected with Anna when she was upset,
Yeah.
okay, is I have a special recipe I make.
Yeah.
I'm Swedish and it's Scandinavian. And so it's a Scandinavian apple crisp.
Nice.
And so she makes these wedding mints.
Yeah.
And we started the habit. This is before she'd even look at me or talk to me.
Yeah.
We would exchange desserts on Christmas
Uh-huh.
at one of our Christmas Eve gatherings. And so we've been doing it now about 10 years. Well, anyways, she comes out of the stands with her dad. She's like, didn't plan for it. She's just got clothes.
Yeah.
And in her just clothes, after Wally gets baptized,
Wow.
she jumps in.
Wow.
And people ran and got me. And she's waiting there until I show up so I can see her baptism.
Oh my gosh.
And
that's
her
so
dad, who's just this amazing dad, gets to have the joy of baptizing his daughter as a follower of Jesus. And so it never gets old, does it?
I love it. I feel like your enthusiasm and your fire for seeing people get saved and then commit their life to Jesus is just tangibly coming through. So, I'm inspired to go convert someone so we can get them
Right?
baptized, right?
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, it's been so long before introducing Macy. My bad. Macy, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Macy. I intern with the special needs ministry, and I would love to be a mom someday and just become a good communicator.
How many
in
kids?
STEM ministry. Probably like 2 or 3.
Okay.
Not too many.
Okay.
Not too
Not too many, she said. Okay. Love
Kids
it.
are great.
Well,
I love kids.
here at Thrive College, we are all about empowering young leaders to be confident Christian leaders that can thrive in any environment. So I want to pass the mic to Macy for our first question.
What are some of the challenges you see young leaders encounter when it comes to new leader roles?
Sure.
Yeah.
No, thank you, Macy.
Yeah.
I think all of us need somebody that believes in us more than we believe in ourselves. And somewhere in our stories, we probably have some. Now, some people are like, oh, it was my parents and I had that certain story. Some of us are like, I didn't have that. Right? But who is it that I think because we're made in the image of God, there's goodness or maybe even greatness inside of us for the kingdom that needs to be called out.
Yeah.
So who calls it out of you? And so I can remember being the kid that I honestly, when I was in like 9th grade, I just came, like, my parents, I wasn't against it,
Yeah.
but I wasn't into it.
Right.
And this is a church I was born in. My parents were born in, their parents were born in. I still didn't really, they had a Christian school where they kind of all knew each other, and I was a public school kid. So I was like, I don't know you guys. You guys aren't really talking to me. I'm not in the in crowd. And I can remember kind of being apart from that group. And it took somebody else inviting me to do something
Yeah.
to call out, like, I think you could do this.
Wow.
And it started this process of these people. And I think the first step to me was like, I was super scared. And it was just to get involved.
Yeah.
And I've just noticed that, like, in my journey, it hasn't so much been me having the courage to do all these things,
Right.
but God just putting people along the way that just kind of like give me a nudge.
Yeah.
And so I think the couple things that I would say for a young leader are, one is who are some people that you would place yourself, because all of those people, so you understand, is most of them, almost maybe all of them, were from a different generation. And so I think there's something to older people need the energy that comes from the younger people, and younger
Right.
people need somebody who's like, because here's the thing, most young people I know, they're like so afraid of failure.
Right.
Oh yeah. Guilty of that one. Yeah.
Okay, so like, right?
Yes.
Okay,
for sure.
so now here's the thing is, at my age, you've failed in so many things, and it's survivable. And on the other side of those failures is always these great things. It's almost like God's like, I got to have you failed a few things because we got to do it through
Right.
ego, right?
Yeah.
And so I would just say to a young leader is, one, put yourself in places where you're around some people from a different generation. And then two is actually don't be afraid of failure.
That's so good.
Yeah.
That is really good.
Yeah.
What would you say are some of the unique strengths that a young leader brings to a leadership culture? I know your church and you specifically, you're well known for believing in the next generation and raising up the next generation, maybe even quicker than they think they're capable of.
Sure.
talk to the person who's saying, yeah, I could never lead something. I'm just not ready. I'm not prepared enough for that. I haven't finished college. Why should they begin now? What are some unique strengths that they bring
Yes.
to a leadership environment?
Just so, like, as I answer this, is it okay if we, like, so I embed this, to me, it's embedded in theology.
Yeah.
So when God goes to introduce himself to humanity, he introduces himself as a God of generations.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't like say, hey, I'm the God of Abraham. That's just it. That's who I am. He says,
Right.
I'm the God of Abraham, Isaac,
And
Jacob, right?
I've never thought of that before. That's
So our God
powerful.
is a God of generations.
Mhm.
See, I don't think you can fully even get a glimpse of who God is unless you're in relationship with other generations.
Wow.
That's good.
I don't know. Do we think about like, yeah, Jacob, that's the youth ministry, right?
Right.
Right? Okay.
Right.
So I think it's embedded in theology, first of all. It's the heart of God. Okay. The other thing is, I think that whenever disciples get off mission, Jesus grabs a kid,
Yeah.
puts him in front of everybody, and says, the kingdom belongs to such as these.
Right.
So for me, the next wave isn't like, well, we just do this because we just got to have it. Like, it's not the future of the church. It is the church.
Right.
For the young leader, for me, when I started to do things that were outside my comfort zone, it changed every gathering I was in, every Bible class I took, everything. So because before you start to put yourself out there, you're just hearing about things. But when you put yourself out there, it's like, this is like, I need this for survival, right?
Yeah.
And so you'll increase your learning curve. And then I would say for the people in the church, I mean, you've got to see, like, when you have a bunch of young people, I mean, doesn't it just fires you up? And so I think every kid makes better decisions when they have adults in their life, and then every adult makes better decisions when they know they have kids watching.
That's so good. So
It's really good.
what I hear you saying is beware of environments where there's not a mix of generations in the room, because we need each other to be doing all that God has called us to do in the way he's called us to do it.
Have you guys read the book Growing Young?
No?
I have not, no.
Okay, it's a green book.
What does that mean?
It's really green. It looks green.
It
the cover of the
literally
book,
is green.
it's green.
Okay.
It's a green book. It's
Like
green.
planet
You're like, hey,
friendly. I was like, okay, what's that
yeah,
mean?
it's vegetarian.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
no.
was-
The cover of the
New-
book
new
is
kind of
so
book.
green. When you see it, you're like, okay, that's the one he's talking about.
Okay, perfect.
So it's a research study, and it's basically asking the question of like because churches right now,
Yeah.
you tend to have churches that are either young or old.
Mm-hmm.
And for most churches, the people in that church are just gonna basically they're aging out together.
Oh, sad.
And so they and what they found is this in their research
Yeah.
is that it didn't matter the denomination, the worship style, the size of church.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? In fact, one of the things they said in there for you're like, was Gen Z or something like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They actually said this, that warm is the new cool.
What does that mean?
What does that mean? Yeah.
Okay, so like when I was younger, okay, all right, I mean, I'm a latchkey kid. I'm a Gen Xer,
Yeah.
right? So like, honestly, we were left at home by ourselves. We're a little bit sarcastic and jaded in our humor.
Right.
You can kind of, right? Letterman, not like, you know,
Right.
Jimmy Fallon, you know,
Yeah.
it's a little bit, we're more jaded.
Uh-huh.
But we did make video games, so you're welcome.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
We
Thank you
were
for that.
just
I-
dying as a generation for
You're
that.
welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
I
Gen
don't,
Z.
I don't play video games, but
Oh. Well, we're still
That's-
grateful. Thank you.
thank you.
Jaded, I guess.
You're
us
welcome.
too.
Yeah. And so one of the things that I noticed is when I was younger, for me to go to something, I wanted to know, is it cool? And it meant this. I didn't want to see anybody my mom's age at the event,
Right.
right? That's shifting. And part of it is we're raising a generation in a world that's gone crazy and they're looking for some stability.
Wow.
And also because of the brokenness of families, what does a true family feel like?
Wow.
And so there's a whole drove of young people going towards not what's cool, but what's warm.
So warm is the new
Wow.
cool.
Warm is the new cool. The other thing they found is like churches that gave young people like you, Macy, real opportunities in leadership. So they call it keychain leadership. So do you drive, Macy?
I do, yes.
Okay. Do you remember what was your first like driving experience? Like who taught you to drive?
My dad, well, my mom was in the back seat. My dad was in the front seat. It was terrifying. It was really terrifying.
Okay. So
We
like,
went out on the back roads, no big deal, but I thought it was like terrible.
Was it easy for you, or were you like scared the whole time? And it was like, was one of the parents really nervous?
My mom was super nervous. She actually screamed once, and I was like, Mom, this is why I didn't want you coming, because I knew you were going to make a big deal out of it. But yeah, I was terrified.
Okay. So do you remember the first time that you got a key?
To the
A
car,
car.
a house? I do, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now I don't know where you're at age-wise. Do you have a car?
Well, my family gave me a car, yeah.
Well, my family gave me a car. Do you have a
It's
key?
not-
Do you have a key to that
I
car, or
do,
do you
yes.
borrow the key to the car?
I-
Do you have a key in your pocket?
Yes. Not in my pocket,
I
but
think
yes.
I think
You're
most
so truthful, Macy. You're like, it's not
It's not
right
actually
now.
Prove it right now.
in my
Let me just pull it
pocket.
out,
you
yeah.
can't handle the truth.
If I had to produce the key, I could.
Yeah, call the code red. Okay. So what I'm saying, most young people in a church feel like they could borrow the car, but they don't have a key to the car.
Wow. Okay. That makes sense.
Like we can send you to war,
Oh.
but you don't actually have a key to the car. You show up and we just like, hey, you guys want to talk about driving some more? And at some point you're bored.
They're going to go get a different car. Love it. Okay, well, I don't know about you, Macy, but yikes. I feel like I need to give you some more keys to the kingdom. You can go just start leading
I
in
would
every
love that.
environment.
Let me ask you guys. a
Like, I've
question.
been waiting, Dina.
How old do you
please.
think the disciples were?
In their teens, like late teens, probably.
She just took a great New Testament class.
I mean, only one of them paid taxes, and that was Peter.
Yeah.
They for sure are under 25,
Wow.
right? And the youngest one's probably John, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jesus' favorite. And so you think about it, Jesus decided, okay, I'm going to change the world by doing what?
Young people.
Young adult ministry.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't like, hey, we're just going to talk about. I mean, think about what he called them to do. Hey, we're going to go on a mission today, a couple days. You're going to go spend with some people. I don't know what house you're staying at, but you know, when you find a place, stay there for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
What should you take with you? Don't take anything.
Wow.
And so you have this like, so if Jesus did that then, do you think he's still doing it now?
Yeah.
Macy, we need your generation. I'm telling you, like the church in America isn't going to be my age group and my parents' age group, like just like doing it alone. We we need your age group to lead us into the future. What do you think the future of the church looks like, Macy?
The future of the church, if we're leading,
Yes. What would you change? What would you do?
I don't know. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what our generation is going to do. But
I want to brag on you. I
Oh.
feel like here's what I see that Macy's going to do, and you may not even know it, but when you said that it's warm, not cool, man, that is how I would describe what I'm seeing in this generation. Is they are just looking for every type of place and space that creates connection. And so I feel like in the lack of what we as the millennial Gen Xers and boomer generation, in the lack of the true spaces to connect that we've created, you guys are going to go and you're going to correct that, and you're going to create spaces where people can actually see each other, not just show up to church, sit next to someone where you're like, hello, I just hope, I don't bump into you while I'm worshiping. No, it's going to be okay for you to bump into that person because you're going to deeply communally know them.
Yeah.
I feel like that's part of the legacy of what you're going to bring. And I see you guys doing that every day. I just to brag on them, Wes, they're doing their own worship gatherings.
Seriously?
Right? Like I'm walking into our chapel and I'm like, what's going on in here? They're like, oh, we're just having a worship night. I was like, oh, okay. Well, actually, they actually do have keys to our chapel. So there you go. We
Right,
gave
but
you
we
keys.
We can't get in past 9:45.
Dang
so.
it. We need to up your limit. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. There you go. Criticism at leadership. I take the feedback. We'll change it. We want you worshiping into the night. That's so good.
I would love that. I love all the times it happens. So
Love it. Well, Wes, our last question that we always ask on the podcast, I feel like you are just going to spit some fire because you are clearly called to develop faith in the next generation, both for themselves and for the leaders currently leading them who need to give them the keys a little bit more. What is one thing that you would like to say to young leaders?
Okay. Have you seen the movie We Bought a Zoo?
Yes,
Have you seen
I
that?
haven't. No.
they buy a zoo. Not to spoil
They-
it, but yeah, they actually
my
buy a
goodness.
zoo. I know.
Macy, would you promise me on this podcast to watch the movie this month?
I promise. I'll watch the movie.
Okay.
Wow.
Is it on Netflix, Hulu?
I have no idea.
I'll look it
what
up.
What
I'll
are those
figure it out.
things?
He actually has the DVD.
Yes, the VHS.
He has the VHS.
Yeah.
I watched the movie and I just like I cry in the movie, right?
Yeah, it's good.
And do you remember the movie?
Yes, I do.
Can you tell her do you remember at all what the movie's about?
I mean, yeah. Okay, so there's this dad and right? Tell me if I'm getting it wrong, but there's this dad and he's just looking to kind of restart this life with his young 2 kids because his wife has just passed away. And so he's like, it's going to be this great adventure. And they go out and they literally buy a zoo. And this is a dad just trying with all of his heart to put his family back together. And he hopes that somehow this craziness of the zoo is going to put them back together. Do you want me to ruin it for her? Like, what happened?
I'm gonna watch it. So
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll spoil
No,
it.
I
I'm
actually think
super
it's so good. I
non-spoilers.
think it's so good you'll cry anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And so so they have the experience. So
Yeah.
we'll save some of like what happens with
Yeah.
that, okay? But there's a moment in the movie, Dina, do you remember where he takes the kids back to the place he first met his wife?
I don't remember that part, Wes.
And they're looking in at the cafe.
Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh.
Is that when you
Right.
just started sobbing?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And oh yeah. And I'm looking and he's looking in there and he's telling his kids like how he sees her and how he is like thinking about like because he sees her and he thinks this could be somebody I could be with, but I don't even know her, right? And for whatever reason he decides to, and he goes in to talk to her and he says to them, it just took 20 seconds of insane courage. And I think I cry in the movie because my wife, it's like when we launched the church, she bought a zoo with me.
Wow.
And not everybody believed, right? Because once it works, everyone's like, yeah, I totally knew, but like,
Yeah,
come on,
no.
right? There's moments,
Yeah.
right? And it was just 20 seconds. And I would say to a young leader, in your life, you're going to have a moment. And you don't have to have courage for hours. You don't have to have
Yeah.
courage for days. You don't have to have courage for months. You just need 20 seconds.
Yeah. That's so good.
So good. 20 seconds of insane courage, Macy. I speak on behalf of Wes and myself. We can't wait to see what you do with those 20 seconds.
I'm so excited.
You're like, I'm excited too to see what happens.
I want to hear what you think about the movie afterwards, okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, all
We need
right.
to hit-
I'm gonna give you my information. We're gonna have a conversation, all right, and then we'll see, like, right?
Yeah.
What's gonna be your moments in your life of the 20 seconds of insane courage? I was a basketball player, Macy, and but my basketball coach saw me more than a basketball player. And he wasn't like a Christian dude. He was just like somebody who cared about people. And when I graduated, our school class was about 500, 600 students in our senior class. And you had to try out for senior speaker. And I would have never done it, but my basketball coach said, you need to try out for senior
Wow.
speaker for graduation. And I did, and I got it. And I can remember being in Tacoma Dome, which is it's a big space, you know, for sports. And I'm there, and I'm on the stage, and I'm like preaching the gospel to my peers.
Wow.
And I'm like, I had a moment where I felt the Spirit of God say, this is what you're going to do with your life.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Just 20 seconds. So I want to hear, like, I want you to have that moment, okay? And you just like, Wes, I did it.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Wes. I know that anyone listening to this is going to be so fired up to have 20 seconds of insane courage today, tomorrow, and the rest of their life. So
Yes.
thank you so much for all the
Thank
ways
you.
you pour into the next generation of Christian leaders.
Great. Thank you, Dina. Thank you, Macy. All right. And thank you, everybody who's listening. I can't wait to come back.
Love it. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
listening. We'll catch you next week. Thank you for joining us today on the Thrive College podcast. We hope that today's episode has empowered you to navigate the challenges and the opportunities of your future in your faith. If you really enjoyed our conversation today and appreciated what we had to offer, we would love for you to write a 5-star written review and share it with your friends. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.